Hey, go, friend. Stock South here, and yeah, I'm talking to you on a smartphone, which frankly is pretty darn smart. I mean, it's the phone. I don't know about me being smart, but especially when it comes to handling these smartphones, you got to be kidding. There's way too much in these things. It's funny. I'm going back now to when I was a kid, like 10 years old. We used to actually, what you had to do, there'd be one phone in the house. One phone might be hanging on the wall. It might be on uh, my father's desk, wherever, and that was your phone. You had to pay extra to get a second phone in the house, but it wasn't much. Maybe you had a phone on near the in the den, and you had maybe one in the for mom, dear old mom, in the kitchen, and that was it. Yeah, and you often shared your line with your neighbors. In other words, you had 104J would be your dial, your ring, and your phone would go like that. And your neighbor might have 103J, and someone calling them, we'd hear like they heard our phone ring at our house. We would hear their phone ring, and their phone might be beep 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 like that. And we knew to let them pick up their phone, the neighbor's phone, and let the neighbors picking up their phone and having their conversation. Yeah. And you could often pick up the phone, and I think you hit zero, and or no. No, wait a minute. I don't think you had to pick up any. You just picked up the phone, and an operator working downtown, uh, down the street a little, in our relatively small town, would pick up and say, "Number, please," and that would be you calling, say, from you want to call out of your town to maybe a neighboring town 30 miles away, and you say, "Well, I want number 402311J," and they'd type it in, and you'd be talking to your neighbor that may, again, like I said, lived maybe 30 miles, not a neighbor, but a relative perhaps that lived 30, 40 miles away. To get a really long distance call, I think you had to pick up, hit zero. Yeah, hit zero. And you, again, forgive me, this is so long ago now, gosh. Uh, and you would get an, an outline or a line out operator who would connect you with the call you want to make to well, let's just say Pittsburgh. And then pretty soon you're talking to grandma who lives out that way. See what I mean? It was it was actually very simple. We thought it was difficult, but by comparison to nowadays, oh my God, I don't know. I was doing something with the phone. I don't even know what I was doing. Just tapping something and says, "What are you doing?" She says, "Oh my God!" And I said, "What?" And she says, "Oh," and I'm to this minute I'm not sure what I did wrong, but evidently did something. Had to shut the phone off, turn it back on. Oh, and promised never to do it again. Whatever the heck it was I was doing. It's no nothing risque or nothing. It was just somehow maybe I was calling down to Mandalay or something. I don't know. It is fascinating. I mean, this is a phone. I'm doing this video on a phone for crying out loud. It's pretty cool. And I got to say, progress has been made. But then again, I got to say, yeah, maybe not. I don't know. Seem to we spend an awful lot of time on these things, don't we? Oh, I mean, I got to admit, I do like them. I especially enjoy like at night. I go hop in the sack and I'm looking, and the next thing I know, I'm watching a video about maybe motorboat racing back in 1950s Florida. There's a bunch of guys on these flat bottom boats going through the Everglades, and it's impressive. Or Maybe you get a snippet or two from a very old movie or some such thing. Always something interesting to look at. And you just scroll from one thing to the next to the next. It seems to be an endless supply of cool stuff to watch. I don't know. I got to say, I like them, and I at the same time, boy, you kind of wonder if they're looking back. Say, well, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Whatever. It is kind of fun, isn't it? Yeah, I know. So, well, that's off my chest. Hope you have a good day and that your phone isn't too confusing. Mine is. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hideously confusing. But when I finally get it figured out, and after 10 or 20 tries, you know, start doing exactly the right way of setting it up and everything, when I've got all that in order, I got to say these things are pretty great. They are great. So what are you going to do? Wish I had them earlier in life, and I was younger and maybe a bit smarter, a little sharper in the noggin. But I guess this will have to do. Hmm? Yeah, I know. Whew. I know. I heard someone laughing. No, it's true. The phones at one time you had to ring the operator. You had to click on the phone and tick, 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 tick. Yeah, there's like a little hook that held the phone, the earpiece. You pull that off, you'd hear a boom, and you go tick, 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 and that would signal the operator to uh, ask for your number, please. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I know no one believes it, but it was very homespun. Homespun. Yeah. Yeah. No, it was nice. I'll see you later. God bless.